Welcome everyone to the CFO Swinger Watch newsletters technical analysis video for the week of December 11th through 15th. My name is Andrew, the founder of CFO, and with that, let's start off with the markets. So, the big question that everyone has been asking is, can the markets go higher? Well, the answer is yes. The simple answer is yes. And the reason why is that, well, if we just simply take a look and observe the larger time frames, okay, like the weekly or the monthly or whatever you guys want to use, the markets clearly are telling us and indicating that the momentum is to the upside, the price trend is to the upside, everything is to the upside, right? Now, with this type of upside control by the bulls, right? Obviously, the bulls are definitely in control of the momentum and the price trend. It begs the question, right? Can the markets go higher short term now, right? So that was from a longer term perspective, but what about the short term perspective? Well, as with most of the people here who are involved in the markets, we've all been waiting for at least a 1 to 2% pullback. But have we gotten that at all? No. In fact, as you guys see on the daily time frame, the daily 10 SMA has caught up to the price. And if you guys remember initially, my initial analysis was that the price can most likely come back down, have a nice 1 to 2% pullback, or even a 2% plus pullback to retest with the daily 10 SMA. But instead, what actually occurred was that we made higher highs and higher lows, but at the same time, while we're making higher highs and higher lows, we were consolidating. And what were we consolidating? We were consolidating this entire move up, this large pivot that started from that transition from October to November that I predicted for you guys. And it just continued to make new highs for this year, which just recently started. And in fact, last Friday, we got a new high for this year, sitting at 460.75. And so again, yes, the momentum is clearly bullish. All right, I'm gonna say that over and over again. But does it have the energy? Does it have the volume? Does it have enough momentum to continue to be bullish? Right? And that's exactly what I've been questioning and asking myself. And the fact that we've actually now retested the daily 10 SMA without seeing a large 1 to 2% pullback, or even, a lot of people have been expecting a 5% pullback or even a 10% correction, but we haven't seen anything of that sort, right? Not even a 2% pullback. So, with the fact that the market continuously rides on top of the daily 10 SMA without much of a large pullback to retest the daily 21 SMA, which is my next momentum SMA, clearly tells me that, hey, the market is very, very resilient. We want to continue to look up, not down. So that has been the lesson so far for me, for my analysis, as we continue to move up higher while simultaneously having very tight price range each single trading day while making higher highs and higher lows. All right, so we're in an uptrend, but at the same time, we're consolidating this entire move that we made since, late October. So again, for this week, right, based on all the catalysts that we've had and everything that I've explained to you guys in the market summary, which you guys should always be reading first, there is a slight chance that we can see a move lower before we see another rally higher into that Santa rally that everyone is expecting at the last half of this month. So if we were to see some type of a volatile move to the downside this week, we would need to break below 456.30ish, or if you guys just want to round to the whole number, 456 is completely fine, as I've initially mentioned when I talked about this level. And also, we would have to break below and close below the daily 10 SMA. Now, there's a problem with that, because in the last week and a half here, every single time that we've broken below the daily 10 SMA, we have immediately snapped right back over the daily 10 and we closed over the daily 10 SMA. But last week on Wednesday, we got our first cautionary warning sign that the market may be in for a small pullback, because last Wednesday we got a nice close below the daily 10 SMA. But guess what occurred? Unsurprisingly, we snapped right back over the daily 10 SMA, and we actually made a new high for this year on Friday's candlestick with volume to back it up. And so, with the pops in volume here, like for example, here, and here, the entire time they're running up, the average volume has been going lower. And so, again, what does this tell us? The bulls are in control. All right, even if the average volume is going down and there's less interest going into the markets, as it should be as we're heading into the end of the year and into the holiday season, we're still getting these very large bullish volume pops, and the price continuously makes higher highs and higher lows while simultaneously consolidating this entire large move up higher that we've had since late October. So short term this week, all right, if and only if we break below the 456 whole number level, including the daily 10 SMA, we will probably see a very swift and very quick move to the downside until we retest the daily 21 SMA, which is still catching up to the price somewhere around 434 to around 454 to around 453.50. That is a strong demand area that you guys should have on your charts. Okay, so again, this is a huge level, or if you guys just want to keep it simple, 453.50 is a big level that you guys should be watching out for if and only if we do see a pullback. Now, I've mentioned before the 451.50 level multiple times, but what I'm seeing right now, I don't think we're going to be seeing a retest of 451.50, because then again, before when I was mentioning this level, the daily 21 SMA was sitting around like 448.50 to around like 447. So now that it has continuously moved on up higher, and now it's sitting over and crossed over this 451.50 level, there's a good probability that we won't be seeing a retest of this 451.50 as the market bullish signals continue to fire to the long side. All right. So again, be careful with any type of short-term shorts with either put contracts or just shorting the market and overall. And yeah, make sure you guys are keeping safe with this long-term and short-term uptrend that we've been having since late October. All right, let's take a look at our first name. So this ticker symbol, UPST, all right? So I first want to take a look at this on the weekly time frame. So UPST, I mentioned this before it broke out, and it broke out of this very nice base, or out of this descending resistance trend line somewhere around $29 to $30. And last week we continued this rally to the upside right after this breakout, this initial breakout. And relative strength wise on the weekly time frame, now this is very important, we are not even close to being overbought on the weekly time frame. And if you take a look at the previous rally, this monstrosity of a rally, okay, you can clearly tell that UPST is still very much a volatile name, because this only happened this year, right? And we're still in the same year. And so UPST is on my top watches for this year, for this month and to the end of this year. That's what I'm trying to say. On the weekly, the fact that we're seeing increasing volume as we continue to break to the upside on the weekly time frame clearly solidifies the fact that yes, this name can continuously make higher highs and higher lows on the weekly time frame, like it did back over here after this huge run up to the upside. Now, if I switch back on the daily, all right, we are now kind of grinding up towards an area of supply, and that specific area of supply is sitting at 37.50 to around 38.85-ish. But if you guys just want to round up, 39. So 37.50 to 39 is your whole number. Well, they are your whole number levels for this supply area that we're currently looking at. Now, based on last Friday's candlestick and the fact that we've broken over $34 here after making a nice little tiny micro bull flag, okay, this name clearly has been still telling us that it's very volatile on the daily time frame as well. I mean, take a look at this candlestick from Wednesday. All right, this top wick, nasty. The bottom wick, nasty for a bunch of shorts who are most likely short on Wednesday and they wanted to see the stock go back down, but instead on Friday, we had a nice short squeeze, squeezing all those shorts out with volume as well. So with UPST, what I'm aiming for here is looking for a very nice low risk entry point for UPST, and that's somewhere around $34. Because if we do see a rejection that we saw last Friday at 37.50, because well, the high of the day last Friday was 37.48, then most likely, as a volatile name, we can most likely see a pullback into $34 here as a retest of the initial breakout resistance level and bounce, turning it into a new level of support, which is the reason why I gave you guys this first entry point. Now, if you guys want to avoid all of that, that probability nonsense, if you guys really hate all that, volatility nonsense as well, just simply take an entry over the previous high of the day, right? And that will also be over this resistance level at 37.50. And if we're able to move over 37.50, then we can quickly rise over to that $39 whole number level. And that will complete the supply ranges and most likely squeeze out all the supply that's been sitting between 37.50 to, through 39, excuse me. So, UPST has a lot of potential for this week as a name to short squeeze, as it's been for the past week or so here. So, I love the fact that UPST has also been seeing an increase in volume every single time that we've popped to the upside. And even if we've pulled back on very low volume compared to all the big pops that we've had. All right, you can literally analyze every single candlestick along with its volume and see what I'm saying here. So UPST, as long as the 10 SMA catches up this week, and again, that's the reason why I gave you guys this early entry, bounce entry at 34.20, I want to see the daily 10 SMA sitting around $34 and also the price sitting at $34 so that we can see a nice retest of the daily 10 and bounce at the $34 new support level here. And eventually, longer term, I will want to see the daily 21 SMA catching up as well. And right now, the daily 21 is kind of far away. So that is a warning sign. But as a squeeze name, as a short squeeze name, you don't really have to bog yourself down by looking at the momentum SMAs because during a short squeeze, bulls really don't give a crap about what's happening with the SMAs. It will continuously push up the price higher and higher and higher. And so if we do see that very large reaction to the upside, that continuous move to the upside for a short squeeze, my maximum and ideal profit target for our entry for this name will be $44. And the reason why I say that is that, well, $44 is right before we head into a large supply area. Okay, there's a huge supply area from where we topped off back in August of this year. Okay, early August. So there's a large amount of supply overhead, including this gap down here that occurred due to earnings. So this is definitely a very good and ideal and logical maximum profit target area for any UPST longs that we can grab for this week. Okay, so make sure you guys have your alerts set up for this name. Okay, the next name is Team. So Team, I want to first start off on the weekly time frame. So Team has been very, very interesting because it's one of those names that have been very, very, lagging. If you just take a look at this year's performance for Team, I mean, based on what the sector and the industry has been doing as a software name, it hasn't done much, right? It really hasn't done much at all. And if we do see the Santa rally, I will want to see Team participating in that Santa rally. I want to see this name actually being convinced that yes, it can run just like its peers have done already. And the Santa rally can just be the one last conviction rally that it needs for a team to participate in this huge market rally that we've had since the lows of October. And so it's really saddening to see that team is the only one that's been left out on this huge software run, since I did tell you guys that software and semiconductors will start to lead any type of rally that we get after Q3. And well, obviously that occurred. So again, congratulations if you guys followed that. But team here has been all alone and hasn't done anything. So on the weekly time frame, we've been really this entire time just kind of consolidating. It's been chill, very volatile with all these weekly wicks here that you see on every single weekly candlestick. But overall, the price has been getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so far, we've been kind of range trading between 180 to around 198.50. Okay, but if you guys just want to keep it simple, using SMAs, we've kind of been trading between the weekly 50 SMA, this dark blue line, and the weekly 200 SMA. So from a very simple trading standpoint, if you want to range trade this, just simply buy near the lows where the weekly 50 SMA is, okay? And then simply sell once we get very close to the weekly 200 SMA. And we've been doing that ever since, well, we've reclaimed, retested, and we start to stay over the weekly 50 SMA, right? I mean, on this candlestick, on just 1 week, we bounced at the weekly 50, and then we moved back down and rejected around the area of the weekly 200 SMA. And we did the same thing over here as well, all right? And now that we've officially bounced at the weekly 50 SMA again, there's a good chance that we can start to see a continuous move up higher on team until we reach the weekly 200 SMA, at least the vicinity of the weekly 200 SMA, all right? But what I'm actually hoping now, ideally, is that we can get a nice retest of the weekly 200 SMA so that we can start to see a nice reversal on the longer term perspective. Because again, team has been a huge laggard. It's been feeling sad by not participating with its peers specifically. But now, based on that perspective, if you take a look on the daily time frame, last Friday we've had a very good kind of a zigzag, higher highs and higher lows price path, and this is what you want to see, right? So this is a very good pattern to be looking at, right? And obviously, take this with a grain of salt, what I've just drawn here. But for team here, if we're able to, follow this path, we should be seeing at least a retest of the 200 whole number level, this golden psychological whole number level that I've always talked about, including the $100 level as well. Since again, $100 levels are always more important, since that is the official number that, well, it's a huge milestone that the company has achieved for its share prices with 3 digits. So team here has made another 3-digit move to the upside if it's able to come back over to that $200 psychological level and stay over this $200 psychological level. All right. Now, based on Friday's candlestick, all right, with this very nice bullish engulfing candlestick and the fact that we've held the daily 21, daily 50, and most importantly, the daily 10 SMA, there is a very good chance that we can see a nice red to green entry point until we hit around the 198.50 to 200 supply area, right? Or simply, again, just take a look at the $200 level, right? Psychological magnet level, right? And for any type of a red to green bounce, we will want to see a pullback until we retest the daily 10 SMA, which is currently at 190.44. But if you guys want to see an actual bounce, and if you want to wait and get that confirmation, a nice early entry bounce will be sitting at 191.10 for you guys to enter into. All right, so that 191 whole number level would be a great level to use as a bounce entry, because if we do see a retest of the daily 10 SMA either tomorrow or earlier this week, we should be moving away from that 190.44 number, or if you guys just want to round up, 190.50 whole number level, and staying over that 191 whole number level, which will be our entry point, all right, for a bounce. Now, if you guys want to kind of, again, move away from all that fuss, right, all that micro volatility and consolidation and volatility, whatever it may be, just simply take a look at the previous high of the day, which was on Friday of 193.39, and just take an entry point over the previous high of the day of 139.39, which is the reason why I give you guys this entry point at 193.50, right? And as long as we continue kind of the zigzag, the Z type of price action, we should be arriving at 198.50 or that $200 magnet psychological golden whole number level by at least early half of this week, right? And again, we kind of followed this similar price pattern only a couple of trading days ago here, right? If you take a look at this candlestick right here, right? Very similar to this one, nice bullish engulfing candlestick. And then what happened after that? We had a continuation candlestick where we had a nice red to green move from lows here, and we broke over the previous day's highs, and then we came up and immediately smacked right at that 198.50 to $200 supply range. So this can be a very simple entry point for us if we do get a nice red to green entry point on either of these entry points that I'm giving you guys to the long side, and get a nice profit to around 198.50 to 200. That'd be a very simple trade. Okay, all right, now our third name here is Snow. Okay, so Snow is looking a bit extended. Okay, so first of all, before I even get into that, Snow on the daily time frame, I mean, you guys should be able to recognize this. This is a very, very textbook looking momentum bull flag after breaking out of this 162.50 level along with this descending resistance trend line. In fact, it was so textbook where once we broke out of this horizontal level of 162.50 and this descending resistance trend line, we decided to come back down, pull back, retest the 162.50 level, and retest this descending resistance trend line. So retested two resistance levels. We decided to hold both of those two resistance levels, those previous old resistance levels, and turn them into new support levels, right? And that's exactly what occurred on these two daily candlesticks, right? And at the same time, we've also allowed the price to come back down and retest the daily 10 SMA. So this was obviously the perfect entry point for this name. But now, there's still a good opportunity here. Right, so the fact that we're making a nice bullish momentum flag here tells us that there's a chance that we can go up higher. However, you guys see that I've given you guys a long entry and a short entry. So let me tell you guys the reason why. First, for the long. So on the long entry point and perspective, we are nearing, again, a very large supply area. And in fact, let me actually give you guys the visuals here. Okay, we have a very nice supply area between 183 to 193, and that's exactly where we've seen the price reject pretty harshly. All right, but the fact that we're holding over 183 now, and that's exactly what we didn't see back for most of the weeks here on the weekly candlesticks between this supply range, clearly indicates that we are starting to form some type of a consolidation phase where we can consolidate in between 193 and 183 without seeing a nasty rejection and a nasty reversal to the downside. And so ideally what I want to see here from this point forward is at least 2 to 3 weeks of sideways tight price action between 183 to 193, or again, if you guys want to flip that 193 to 183, you guys understand me. And allow the weekly 10 SMA to slowly catch up as it continues to consolidate between 183 and 193 for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so again, weekly perspective, long-term perspective, we're looking to continue to fire long to the upside. I mean, the weekly 10 has already had a nice bullish crossover over the 21, including the 50 as well here, this dark blue line. So again, every long-term technical indicator here is telling us that yes, snow is a trade to the long side. And now, okay, with that perspective, okay, snow is one of those overextended and overbought names. So on the RSI here, the relative strength indicator, we're looking at a value of 72.75 as the closed RSI value on last Friday. So that's pretty overbought, right? And the fact that we're sitting in between a supply area here, a supply range, is clearly telling us that we need to be slightly careful here. And so the reason why I gave you guys a short entry point is, well, because of this. Because of the fact that we're sitting at overbought and overextended levels, including inside a supply range. So if you do see some type of a rejection again around even just from another retest of 193, like we saw on Thursday of November 30th here, we should be able to see a push lower, and ultimately we should get a nice short entry underneath 190.50. Now I don't care if we have a nice day trade on snow, because as long as we continuously move sideways, we can continue to range trade between 183 to 193, and that's ultimately what I want, rather than a large inverse move to the downside where we get a nasty move and we break below 183 again, right? And ultimately breaking below my daily 10 and eventually my daily 21. So that's not what I want. All I want to see is the price continuously moving sideways, bouncing between 183 to 193. And for a more specific reason as to the reason why I chose 190.50 is that, well, based on these two candlesticks, okay, whenever we reached, over 190.50, all right, whenever we attempted to break over 190.50, we immediately smacked back down and we closed not at highs. All right, so on this candlestick, we hit 191 and then we moved back down. On this candlestick, we hit 190.62 and then we moved right back down. All right, so that's the move that I want to catch, and eventually I want to see a profit target to around 183. All right, now that was the short-term perspective for a short to the downside. But when we switch back to the long-term perspective, and if we do ideally see that 2 to 3 weeks of consolidation, we would simply get a very good entry point for snow over $200, right? Or I can also add this one as well. Okay, if you guys want to be a bit more specific, right? 193.10. Okay, so that will be the official breakout level over this supply range or supply area. But again, if you want to make sure and you're confirmed that the stock will continue to go higher, if we do break over on a long-term perspective, again, long-term, right? This is like weeks and months down the line, and the price decides to stay over the $200 level, you can use that as a kind of a line in the sand level to have a nice long-term entry point and hold that long position to the upside as snow continuously breaks to the upside and eventually hopefully reaches the ranges that we saw back in its IPO days. Okay, so snow, definitely another name that has been quite a laggard for this entire year, as seen by this weekly time frame. But overall, it's been making a great attempt with great volume on the weekly to the upside. Okay, but again, from a shorter term perspective, I truly think that we can get a short entry to the downside. I mean, even on the weekly time frame, we're seeing a lower volume as well. So this one, definitely keep your eyes on this and definitely have your alerts on every single entry point for the long side and to the short side. And lastly, we have PAT. That's right. So PAT, I have nothing much to say about this one. I mean, I mean, you guys can just take a look at the last week's technical analysis video. Nothing has changed, other than the fact that we're now making a weekly bull flag, right? How do you know this? Well, last week we had a very nice consolidating week where we made a nice inside weekly candlestick, right? And we didn't decide to break over the highs that we made on the weekly earnings candlestick here, right? And instead we decided to make a very tight inside weekly candlestick, and we continued to stay over this critical $22 resistance level on the weekly time frame. So now this is our new support. Okay, I've mentioned this in last week's technical analysis video as well. And so these entry points are still very much valid, right? These are still very practical entry points. So again, if you guys want to just simply take a nice entry point over last week's highs, which is 25.41, this entry point still works. Or if you go back on the daily time frame, if you guys want to see this current daily bull flag that's still being formed, this momentum bull flag that we just saw on snow, okay, this is very similar here. We can still get a nice bounce entry at 24 if we do see a pullback, and we can get a nice red to green candlestick, and we can continue to move on up higher. Now, one last thing for path. Okay, so path again, very similar to snow. It's very overextended and very oversold and overbought, as we see on the RSI value of 73.31 last Friday. And so, based on how it performs this week on the backdrop of the market's performance, there's a good chance that path, just like with snow, can see maybe another retest of its highs that is currently made so far, especially from the earnings week candlestick, okay, which is currently sitting around, I believe, 25.47. Okay, if you do see 25.47 being retested, or maybe even breaking over that level or that number or that value there, we could see a swift rejection again if the market does exactly what I described in the market summary. All right, so path, definitely another similar name to snow, where on a daily time frame it's very overextended and overbought. But this time around, path is also a bit overbought on the RSI on the weekly time frame as well. So path definitely tells us that it needs a lot more consolidation compared to snow. Again, I told you guys that at least 2 to 3 weeks for snow, but for path, it might need at least a full month of consolidation before we see another leg up higher on this name. All right, and again, there's declining volume, which is good for consolidation, not particularly for a reversal, because I'm not looking for any type of move to the downside. But path here should continuously consolidate here, ideally if it wants to make another move up higher until we hit that next number, golden number of the 30s, right? 30s all the way up to 32. So again, my max target for this name will be 32. Right, and make sure you guys watch last week's technical analysis video on path, because I kind of said the same thing, but with this new update, try to kind of compare and see what's been happening to path here. And ideally, it's been doing exactly what I wanted it to do: consolidate. Right. So again, for path, you guys can still get a pretty low risk entry point this week, especially if the market does do exactly what I said in the market summary, and path can see a nice rejection at its current highs, this short-term highs of around 25.47, and we can get a nice low risk entry point. All right, so I know that was a very good and very long video, but I want to kind of explain everything to you guys in a very in-depth technical analysis video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys really found this video helpful and all the information helpful, and most importantly, very applicable for this new trading week, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up down below and leave a comment down below on what you guys thought, or just whatever ticker that you guys may be personally looking at as well. All right, have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow morning in the Discord chat room. Thank you guys so much for watching.